Hello everyone and welcome back to Planet Zoo. It is episode 6 of season 2 of COVEA, the conservation of vulnerable endangered animals. In today's episode, as I'm sure you guys were expecting, we are building the Lemur Walkabout habitat. The entrance to this is in our busy kind of market street. On the left we have a huge sign pointing towards it, and this is actually our last episode for the next few weeks because we're taking a break to do Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, which hopefully you guys know by now, but I just want to repeat it. We'll talk more about that later. So you've just seen me do the barriers to the habitat, and now we are building up the river, which is going to serve as a natural border. The lemurs in this game, for some reason, I feel like it does make sense, for some reason they can't swim, so the river is a completely natural looking way of keeping them in their habitat. And this is the same river that runs through the elephant and rhinoceros habitat into the Garia Lake. If you remember in episode 3, that river goes underneath the elephant house and pops out the other side out into the lemur habitat, which I think is pretty neat. Like I've said, I want this river to kind of wind through the entire zoo, and this is just another point of where it's going to do it. But of course, we can't use the river to keep them in on every side, so we started building up this bamboo and East Asian stone wall, which is going to go up against the rest of the triangle path that hasn't been filled in yet. On the left we have the elephant house, on the right we have the bird show and the market street, but right ahead as you go up that slope from the entrance, there's currently nothing, so that's where we put this barrier. And the general idea for the design, aka just using the recolorable bamboo and making it kind of white or greyish, I think I got that general idea from Simply Savannah, who, if you somehow don't know, is another Planet Zoo YouTuber, or primarily Planet Zoo, at least that's what I've seen her do. So that's where I got that idea from, and I'm really happy with how it worked out. I think it looks great in the area. And yes, the bamboo pieces are actually climbable by the lemurs, which I thought was going to be a bit of an issue, but as it turns out, just putting a stone slab on the top of it stops them from climbing out, at least from what I've seen so far. I haven't actually spent that much time in the zoo since I built this with the game playing, so the lemurs might be able to escape. It's just not showing that on the habitat walkable area tab thing that you can open up for each animal. So as far as I'm aware, they can't escape yet. And you can't see through this barrier, so this really isn't something the eye is supposed to be drawn to. Up that slope from the entrance past the gharials and elephant habitat that we've talked about, leading up to the triangle path, we've got that big centerpiece which is curved, and that curve kind of directs your eyes left to the elephant house and right to the bird show and market street. But right ahead of you, you don't really want your eyes to be drawn to that. That's kind of covered up, and the wall really isn't that exciting, and it doesn't have to be because your eyes are pointed away from it. And obviously you can't see through it, the lemurs, you can't see them from there, so there's no reason that you'd ever really want to look at that anyway. But of course, just in case you do look at it, I picked out a few different types of ivy or kind of flat plants that I could place onto the wall, and then of course we covered up the grass bit right in front of it with plants. You guys will see that in a second. I did something pretty cool with it, so it looks good when you do look at it, but it's nothing special. I keep saying this a lot, I've said this a lot over the last episodes, but the whole point, you direct your eyes and it kind of brings it all together, and the things that you're not really focusing on look fine from your peripheral vision, but if you looked at it straight, it's nothing special. But yeah, I'm gonna keep saying stuff like that. Anyways, maybe I'm just my worst critic, who knows? So now I'm just copy and pasting that wall along the barrier of the lemur habitat, and then I'll go over to put all the ivy and stuff on it. But I discovered something recently with the security cams in the game. You can place security cams wherever you want. Of course, you can do that with pretty much any item in the game. But what I didn't realize is you can actually enter the security cams. You can look in it like someone watching the security camera, which means I could place a camera facing a certain part of the habitat, look in it, take a picture, go out of it, place a bunch of stuff in frame of the camera, then go back into the camera, take another picture, put one in front of the other, blend them together in editing, and you get a nice fade from what it looked like before there were plants and what it's like after there were plants, which is exactly what you guys are going to see here in a few minutes. And by a few minutes, I mean about 30 seconds, which means I don't have much time to really talk about anything else. So, some lemur facts, here we go. Lemurs are the only non-human primates that have blue eyes. In Latin, the word lemur means evil spirit of the dead, and injury lemurs, which we don't have in this habitat, sing in groups like an a cappella. In other words, lemurs are a lot more cool than you probably think. Oh, and a lemur that looked like this went extinct 500 years ago. What a guy. So you should be able to see popping up on screen the picture from the security camera from before we place the plants down, and then we're going to have a little bit of a fade into the picture from after we put the plants down. I don't know if you guys are going to like that trick, but I think it was pretty neat and I wanted to include it. I mean, it's definitely better than me dragging you guys through a really weird time lapse of putting plants down, which is immensely boring, so might as well cut it down to a couple seconds. So now we're doing some terraining, which was actually pretty difficult. This was my second attempt at it that you're seeing right now, because not only are the animals going to live in here, but we also need a guest path walking through the habitat, and I want that path to be a really nice nice slope, rather than really ugly jagged lines which just would not look good at all. But to be honest, once I got the general idea down and was using the terrain tools the way they're supposed to be used, it was pretty simple, and the end result is pretty good. But that leaves me with a little bit of time to do a shameless self-promotion. If you're enjoying the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. Go check out the rest of the series. As I've mentioned, we are going to be going on a little bit of a break. I'm not talking about that right now. So we're going on a little bit of a break from Planet Zoo and COVEA, but it will definitely be back in due time. It just gives me a chance to really get my inspiration back for the series, probably prepare a couple builds whilst I can, and then we'll come back better than ever. But now you can see me starting to work on a little shelter for our red ruffed and ring-tailed lemurs. This build really isn't anything super special, it's a pretty nice looking thing, and it's kind of inspired by a shelter at Yorkshire Wildlife Park in their Lemur Walkabout habitat. I've taken inspiration from that zoo before, way back in episode 1. It's not amazing, but it looks like a pretty nice sort of modernistic shelter for the lemurs. And because this build was pretty short, I was able to actually slow down the time lapse a bit compared to what it's normally at. It's at 7 times instead of like the 15 times that it's sometimes at. Times. So it's a lot easier to take in what I'm actually doing. Not that this build is very detailed, but it's still a lot easier to watch than me just going zoom, zoom, zoom from side to side to side, placing random things. But whilst that's being built up in the background, I should probably talk about the break that we're going to be taking from COVEA, because I've been talking about that all episode and I haven't really told you guys what's actually going on. So this is the last episode of COVEA for a while. You guys have probably gathered that by now. That after this video goes up, it's going to be followed by 3 weeks of 2 Subnautica episodes every week. And by the time the Subnautica series has been finished, it's completely uploaded, every episode is up, Subnautica Below Zero will release, which I'm going to try to do 2 episodes every week until the game is over. Whether or not that will be possible, I really do not know. But I'm really going to try my best. I'm so excited for that game. I cannot wait to play it. You guys know how much I adore Subnautica, and I'm just as excited to play Below Zero. I haven't touched the game at all since 2018 when it first came out in early access, and even then I only played it for about an hour. So I'm extremely excited to get into doing, well, you know, just not even just playing the game, yes, but I loved editing Subnautica, so I'm gonna love editing Below Zero even more, because honestly my editing's improved a ton. There's some issues with that series that I really wish I knew how to fix, but I didn't. But now I do, so it should be a lot higher quality than Subnautica was, and I'm very excited to finally get into it. And after Below Zero is completely done, I might take a week or so break, because that's going to be exhausting doing 2 of those episodes every week if I can keep that up. But then once I'm back, we'll have COVEA doing weekly, as always, and I plan to do it alongside a Jurassic World Evolution series, which I'm looking forward to editing. I know that game's not very popular, but it's a game that I kind of want to have in the bank on the channel, and I've got some ways that I think I can make it better than your average Let's Play, and it should be a fairly easy thing for me to do alongside COVEA, because COVEA is still my main project, and I'm really excited to get going on that as well. So there's a lot of cool things in the pipeline. There's way more that I haven't even told you guys about. I've got tons of playlists already made on the channel that are set to private. You guys can't see them, but I've got tons of ideas for series. I'm really excited. Just it's gonna be great. Honestly, what I'm doing right now is gonna pale in comparison when I get around to doing that stuff. And by the way, if you're watching this series and you haven't watched Subnautica, I really couldn't recommend it enough. I'm really proud of that series. Don't get me wrong, I love this series and it holds a really special place in my heart. But the cinematic Subnautica and the Below Zero series will be way higher quality just in general. The editing is a lot more special, and I get to do a lot more fancy kind of things with that, kind of play around with editing methods and really get to create something that I'm a lot more proud of than COVEA. Like I said, COVEA, still love it, still think it's good, but these Subnautica Below Zero and Subnautica videos are just generally a high quality, so if you're enjoying this, I really do think you would enjoy them, because I'm really proud of it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're watching this series, I would really appreciate it if you watched those too. But there's not that much for me to talk about for the rest of the time lapse, so I think I'm going to leave you guys with some music. I will come back. We are doing an actual tour this time, again, not cinematics. I know this is like 3 episodes with tours instead of cinematics, but the builds, generally speaking, have just been a lot smaller, less to kind of fly over and get you guys a great shot of it. So I will leave you guys with the music. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the time lapse. As I'm sure I've explained to you over the course of it, this is our last episode before a little break for Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero. And because of that, I thought it'd be best to give you guys a tour of what it would actually be like visiting the entire zoo rather than just walking through the lemur habitat, which would take about a minute. So let me just hop in Tedget Cam like this with my weird people. I have no idea why these guys have done this ever since episode 2, but only in this location. It's very weird. I don't understand it. Obviously, we don't have the parking lot built up yet, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with that, but we'll see how it goes. So you've got the big old COVEA sign at the entrance. You walk up the stairs and you can take a look at the Indian elephant and Indian rhinoceros, which has a very good view today. Look at the elephants over there. That's awesome. And that one's taking a dump. Yep, that sounds about right. But now you can go in, grab your ticket, look at all that stuff you can buy in the back. You got an ATM here, you got whatever else, a couple benches, it's not that special. To the left, you've got the elephant house, and right in front of you is the gharial habitat, which honestly is going to look way better once we build these buildings up behind it. I can't actually see many gharials at the moment. One over there, one over there. Actually, you know, they're here. They're probably underwater. Let's take a look. Okay, apparently they're not underwater. Never mind. But obviously we don't have anything on the right side of the zoo yet, so let's head up here to the left. I think this looks really cool. You can look out over the gharial habitat once again, and out to the left you can look over into the elephant and rhino habitat. But the effect that I really love is if you walk up here, you can kind of see the tree and it kind of frames this really nicely. I think it looks awesome. And then this curve kind of directs your eyes in this direction and in this direction, which is exactly what I wanted. So you can take a look over to the Indian house or the elephant and rhino house. Nothing super special inside, but you can take a look at the little guys. Little guys in inverted commas, of course. And just to peek into the staff area because I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. This area is also pretty cool. This is more of a staff path, although it's not actually staff path because I hate the way staff path looks. This is just off the right of the elephant house entrance. You got a little foresty area with some jeeps, the staircase that goes onto the top of the elephant house, and the entrance to the lemur habitat. But obviously the guest is never going to see that. So once you've done that, you could walk along in this direction. You can see the market street and the big old entrance. You can see a bird show area to the right, but no one's in it just yet. So you're thinking, I wonder when the bird shows are on. So you walk into the market street and just like that, they're right there. Obviously there's no actual text, but there would be in real life. So you can walk down this awesome market street and you can walk through into the lemur habitat, which is exactly what you guys are here to actually see, not the rest of the zoo. There are still some changes to be made. This one actually ended up being a shorter build than the bird show area, but it still looks pretty cool. You've got the cliff off to that side. Thinking about it now, probably not a bad idea to put a proper fence there because we all know how people are. People be dumb and people would fall off. It's just a pretty stock habitat besides the fact that it's a walkthrough thing. You can still see this over the fence, which I think looks pretty cool. I love the way these little wooden fences kind of hug the curves of the fence. You can walk through here. Unfortunately, you can see the staff entrance, but I mean, there's not too much you can do about that. You can look around at all the lemurs. Look at these guys having a snack. Got a nice wimber tree in the curve of the path here. You can stand here, look at the fence, look at them climbing on there. This is where they eat. What the hell? Did you see that? I think a lemur just jumped from here over to there. That was insane. But yeah, right, okay. But yeah, you can see the rivers down there, and in case you were wondering, I don't know how realistic this is, I feel like it's not, but the lemurs can't swim through water in this game, so this is a natural barrier for them. And right here is the lemur house. They can walk up this little wooden thing, go inside that door, and you can look into the glass ever so slightly, and this is where they sleep. I feel like I should decorate the inside of this a little bit more. It looks pretty plain. And the rest of this, honestly, I'm not very happy with. This fence looks awful, but the reason I haven't really decorated this side of the path here is because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I definitely don't want this corrugated metal fence, but I also don't know how else to really keep them in. And I also don't know what I'm going to do with the zoo any further than this fence right now. So I'll probably wait until we build the next thing over in this direction, and then we'll figure out what we're actually doing with this wall for the lemurs. And for the same reasons, we haven't built the exit yet, but whenever we do expand out even more into this direction, we'll figure out what we're doing with that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this first section of COVEA before we go on our break. I am really happy with our progress for these first 6 episodes. It's been awesome. I've really enjoyed most of the builds we've done. I say most, I've actually loved them all. Some of them I just prefer more than others. So overall, I think the zoo is looking really awesome, and I just can't wait to see how it expands in the future. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. Of course, we are going on this little break, but we will be back with COVEA in probably a few weeks' time, and that'll get me a chance to get super motivated with this series again. I'll have tons of fun ideas by the time we get back. In fact, I already have a couple, which is great. So thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in our next adventure. Bye, guys!